Good evening and salutations, my Beyond the Gates fans. Okay, so I'm starting to notice a pattern, and I've noticed this for a while. I'm not entirely a fan of it. And although on one hand I do praise this to an extent, because it does make the show feel very modern, it's also just, it also gets to a point sometimes it's just like, it's so much. It feels so extra. And that is the dialogue with the younger generation. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I can praise it in a sense because, it's how the younger generation talks. Um, you see it a lot with not just Chelsea, but also Terrell and I think Samantha. That's Martin and Smitty's kids. But I feel like after a while, it just starts to get kind of annoying. Like, when she was sitting there calling her mom, what you called it? Momager? Manager slash mom. It's like, do we have to keep using that? Like, it got to a point where it's just like, uh, and just some of the other dialogues that she uses sometimes where it's like, okay, we get it, you're Gen Z, like, we get it. It's like, after a while, it just starts to get a little annoying to listen to. Kat doesn't do it as much, so I will give her. I give her a bit of props for that, but I still do feel that Chelsea is probably the better character, not by much. And I only sit there and say that because the bar towards being a better character than Kat is pretty damn low. And we'll get into the whole episode today, but there was one particular part. This is not in the episode. It was one particular part where she's sitting there talking to Leslie, but she doesn't know who Leslie is, right? Like she don't know her, right? But this is a woman that's coming to her as a concern for, I don't know if that was like her pretend to be like her stepmom or whatever. And the way that she sat there and talked to her, it was like, you ever heard that phrase, respect your elders or whatever? Now, while I do believe that respect is earned and not given, there should be a basic level of respect. But she didn't just talk to her like she was her equal or anything like that. Like, this woman probably went through hell things that, you know, born and stuff like that. And she's coming, and the way she was not there talking to her, it's like she was really talking down to her. And just makes her such a shitty character, right? Like a total lack of respect. Going into this episode today, Chelsea did come back. She did apologize. She felt bad for the way that she handled it with Danny. But she did make it very clear, like, yo, listen, I want to sit there and be my startup, something that I'm doing on my own. And I remember was sitting there watching the live stream with Nikisha, and she was sitting there saying, like, listen, I would never sit there and try to do that, but she was like, she would want her daughter to come to her if she had any sort of questions. And Danny's really going through it, right? Because she looked at it like Chelsea dumping her for Kat was somehow related to Bill dumping um Bill dumping her for Haley. They kind of passed things up or whatever, and she went about her way. She runs into Haley. And Haley, or what does she call her step monster or something like that? Again, it's just like uh, it's one of those things like it just makes her seem so difficult. Like her scenes and Samantha scene. It's like here's the thing, they can sprinkle in some of the Gen Z talk every now and then because they're the younger generation. When you feel like they do it all the time, it just like certain things I feel like they need to just start to pull back from. Um, anywhere they're talking, and at least when they're trying to, bridge gaps and try to fix things between her daughter, between Bill's daughters and Bill. And she's with Chelsea. She's trying to do that. And they get into this whole back and forth thing about Danny and what Danny has done to her, and you know, Chelsea blames her for blowing up their marriage and blowing up their family. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not saying she didn't do her part. Your dad is just as responsible. And while on one hand, when Haley was like, "Well, what about the stuff that Danny did to me?" I'm like, "Well, you knew exactly what you were getting into. Like this is, what I'm saying. Like you're lying, lying your own bed. Like you did that to yourself." On one hand, on the other hand, it's like Chelsea just makes excuses for her. The attacking her at the country club, coming in there with the gun and everything like that. Ricochet's Ricochet could sit there and kill you too. And yes, she's gonna think, oh well, she was forced to do that. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? This is a pattern, and I get it. On one hand, that's her daughter and stuff like that. So you're gonna stand up for her. But at the same time, it's like, come on, seriously. You cannot sit there and start trying to make excuses for your mother because that's the problem with this family in a sense. Except for Anita. Anita was probably the only person that really held her feet to the fire as far as like, yo, you can't be doing this. Everybody else was like, oh, poor Danny this, poor Danny that. Um, I wasn't here for the excuses. And that's not just saying that she didn't go through stuff, but the stuff that she did, that wasn't right out there. And we're not gonna sit there and just gloss over that like it was. Now, speaking of that, after Haley and Bill talk, Bill decides to come over Danny's place, right? Gets there. Well, they talk for a little bit. He's like, can I come over? And she's like, yeah, like she gives this attitude, like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. The minute she gets off the phone, it's like she's giggling and running up the stairs like a little schoolgirl on her first crush. Um, and I get it. X amount of years of marriage. I'm like, come on, like this is insane. So he gets there. They get to talking, they get to reminiscing, they look through a scrapbook and everything like that, and they're just going through memory lane of all the good times and stuff like that they had. And the sad thing is that while you may sit there and look at that and them talking about all the good stuff that they've had and seeing her smile and seeing him smile and laughing and joking. Hell, even there was one point where she found out that Naomi is suing him. And she starts laughing, and he starts laughing too. And it's just, it almost seemed like it'll be this nice, cute moment, this nice, cutesy moment. But then you realize just how bad he's treated her, how much he made her feel less than. And you're like, oh, yeah. And you don't think about it when you're watching this scene, but then afterwards you're like, you treated her like shit for years. You cheated on her for years. She known about that and allowed you to do that for years. So part of me is that they're looking at this like, it's like they're looking at their past through this rose-colored lens, like he wasn't Basuda. Anyway, one thing leads to the next, and he start kissing. Now, Let me tell you right now, I'm I don't know about Shanice. I know people like her and she's a sassy nurse and everything like that, but I'm like, ugh. Anyway, she's listening and eavesdropping on Andre and Ashley's conversation. Like Ashley confronts Andre. It's like, oh, how come you haven't really talked to me? You keep ghosting me. You're avoiding me. What's going on? And I'm like, why does it matter? You're in a relationship, right? He stepped out of pocket. You checked him. What's the problem? So they talk about it for a little bit, and at first he starts lying and stuff like that. And they seem like they work it out, right? There's a point where they shake on it. And Andre does this whole weird hand thing like he's caressing her hand. It's like, see, that's weird. Like boundaries. I'm like, okay, so once again, he just stepped out of bounds. And this is the reason why you probably should have just kept your distance or let him keep his distance. And after you say that, she brings up, oh, I got a boyfriend, everything like that. And they seem like they kind of just squash it. But I'm like, you're just inviting trouble at this point. That's essentially what you're doing. You're inviting unnecessary trouble. Like, what are you doing? Meanwhile, you got Derek and Jacob Smith talking about the situation, and Jacob pretty much tells him like, I think he's after your girl, and he's making you look like a damn clown while he's doing it. There's a point where Andre does get there, and I guess they have this talk, and Derek invites Andre to dinner that night, and I guess Andre tries to get tips from Shanice on how to get out of it, and I'm kind of just like, this is just so stupid. Because I feel like we have an idea, like it's not written, and it's like we're all kind of theorizing that those two are going to sleep together. We don't know if that's going to wind up happening. Like, for example, on General Hospital, we all assume that Gio is going to be Trina's love interest. And that shit did not happen whatsoever. So, while we can look at it and say that's going to happen, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe that could just be a fake out. Now, after Naomi, get the girls to sit there and reconsider, um, suing them and filing for a lawsuit. And she does it well. She sits and reminds them because the thing is, they said they want to settle. And Naomi is like, well, how much money are you getting? They all look at each other like, now, yes, it's very easy to sit there and look at that situation and be like, I'm sorry, you said you're going to settle and you didn't even walk away with a number? And then after that, she pretty much is like, you're not going to really get anything. Your reputations are going to be soiled. And you're going to be right back to square one. So after reminding them that you're not just doing this for y'all doing this for the next up, any new woman, new girls or whatever that go in our office, that they don't have to sit there and deal with Mike the Creep. And then goes to Bill and pretty much kind of just reads them on the whole thing. And then you got Jacob, and I guess he sees Marcel Malone, and at some point he walks up to him. He's like, "Oh, you're being nice to me because of my dad, right? Yeah, I don't need to sit there and be coddled." And part of me looks at that situation and it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. Here's my thing. When you first met him, he was an absolute dick to you, right? So he came back, he had a different attitude, and you feel like he's being nice and he's being fake or whatever. But I'm like, here's the thing. I'd rather him, on some level, at least be nice and decent than for him to just be an asshole. And that's essentially what he wanted going back to. He was like, okay, fine. Listen, this is the way you want it. It is what it is. Naomi walks up and introduces herself to him. And I think he says like two quick words and he just throws the money on the counter and just walks off. I'm like, Jacob, what is it that you want? You don't want him to be an asshole to you, but now you feel like he's being too nice and everything to you. So it's like, what do you want exactly? Oh, just for anyone that's not there wondering about General Hospital, the review. Yeah, I didn't do it. It was a special, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, so I'm sure it was probably a nice episode. I imagine, but I don't do special episodes, and I don't generally tend to do standalone episodes. So, um, but for the General Hospital people, I will be back tomorrow doing a review and a review on the episode. The minute I looked at it, I was like, something's kind of off. And I read the description, I was like, no, I'm not. I ain't doing it. I feel like there's more. I feel like I kind of like, nope. Oh, and then towards the end, when Ashley gets home, I'm talking to Derek, and they're talking about Andre. Andre also wants to sit there and do a feature piece on Derek as far as what he does and how brave he is for putting his life and everything like that on the line on a daily basis. And Derek told Ashley that he invited him to dinner. She seemed like she was a little bothered by that. And I'm kind of just like, why do you even have that perturbed look on your face? You just said that you want to be friends with him. I mean, you practically chased the man down and was not there. Felt like a damn interrogation on why are you avoiding me? I thought we were friends. I thought we were buds. I'm like, yeah, y'all were until he stepped over the line and you checked his ass, rightfully so. But like now, I don't know. It seems so unnecessary and extra. Like honestly, tell you the truth, if I try to step to a girl and I was in the wrong, I'm not gonna expect this girl to sit and be like, oh, well, can we still be friends? I'm like, why? Like, why? I don't. Um. Anyway, I feel like that's about it. I can't think of anything else, but if I miss anything, write in the comment section below. I'm not gonna do a live stream tonight. I'm gonna just rest up. Definitely a long day, but I will be back tomorrow live streaming the usual time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and I'll talk about all 5 of the shows from. I mean, there's if people want to talk about GH, that's cool. Um, but I also sit there and say it because I noticed that YouTube does not give out notifications towards my live streams anymore. They just don't do it. But that's why I always sit there and try to be consistent. Anyway, if I missed anything, write in the comment section below. Let me know what your favorite part was, or your least favorite part was, or just the episode in general. And I'll see you in the next video.